The name's Bond. James Bond. Now, after that terrible impersonation, welcome to Simple Sundays. A look at all things handheld 007, with three games lined up. First of all is 1998's Gameboy title developed by Sapphire Games. The second is 2001's GBA title Nightfire. And lastly, the PSP's From Russia With Love from 2006. I will take a look at each game in some detail and hope to shine some light on all three. When the licenses were not under the Broccoli control, but relaunched in 1995's GoldenEye with Pierce Brosnan in the role, it looked to move away from the darker and some would say more accurate to the book's Dalton Bond, to something more akin to the Moore period of gadgets and camp baddies. But this was launched in the middle of Cool Britannia and everything British from the 1960s was repackaged, meaning Bond couldn't have timed this really much better. The character himself was created by Ian Fleming, who worked as an intelligence officer in the Navy. And the reason Bond is proactive as he is because in the books and movies that they were created from it comes from Fleming knowing OSS operatives from the actual war itself, who did such daring deeds. But obviously a Cold War spy was more Kim Philby than Sean Connery. But the novels contain a darker character, more in line with Daniel Craig's more modern adaptation. But Bond is only equal to a good baddie, something the series has missed, and it feels like the franchise is back to where it was post-Dalton, unsure of what the message is to have. So instead of the future, let's look back at Bond of old instead. The Game Boy title is an action-adventure game not based on any specific Bond story, book or movie, but rather it utilises the Bond licence to dig into the past and its characters. Jaws and Oddjob both appear with no Blofeld, but instead the deadly Golgov is the main baddie, though we do take a strange trip to the Middle East and to hunt a man named Saddam. But let's start from the beginning, where we join James searching for 008, who is sent on a mission to infiltrate a smuggling ring, and first off we go to China. So we start in China searching for clues to try and find 008, and after a short amount of exploration to get to the secret plans and a secret passage, we get our information from Zhong Mei after a fist fight. After defeating Mei Zhong, we travel to London. Morning, Miss Moneypenny.
James, where on earth have you been? I've been searching London for you. 007.
Now we head to Kurdistan. So while here, we need to try and rescue 008, which leads us to get a ring to trade for a pass to the cabaret in town, where we get a lamp to enter a cave to defeat our first boss, Iqbal. Free 008 and he tells us to head to Marrakesh. Marrakesh is probably the most confusing level of the entire game. It is a bit of a maze where we need to enter to get to the casino first and take a bet on the UK government to earn £2,500 to enter the High Rollers Baccarat at the back of the casino. Now, to win these games takes a fair amount of time, and it is possible to actually enter a code as your name to play the other card games in this casino. And the object of the part is to get that 2,500 and get back to meet Mr. Fez in the back part by playing the game of Baccarat. Once we meet him, we then have to head through the black market. We need to go and find Q and get some night vision goggles which are necessary to go into a cave where we will tranquilise Mr. Fez. So let's find that gun, and along the way pick up a satellite link. Then go back through the dark cave to get Mr. Fez, then all the way back through to the casino to get Oddjob's keys and confront him. But that does not go well. So Oddjob leaves us dumped in the Sahara. We are glad of the link that we picked up previously, and after a short conversation we can head to the airbase, which is located thankfully very easily if you have the link. If you don't, then there is no map and you need to write this all down, and chase Oddjob to Tibet. When we head to Tibet, we need to do some mountain climbing, so after acquiring some rope, some heavy arsenal to help us along the way, and add the hook that we picked up earlier, we can head to the Test of Courage. This turns to be a tryout to be basically a sumo wrestler having to push many out the road, and after we leave we bump into Oddjob again, who takes us to the secret base. At the secret base we bump into Zhongmei, who we fought earlier in the first level, and use her help to get out. We get some weapons and search for medikits, something which you require to do all game. Well worth searching everywhere you can, they give you plentiful supply. We get a shield to stop bullet damage, though rockets will still get through this, and work our way to Oddjob for probably the hardest boss in the game. You need to deflect his hat with a shield to hurt him, then back to meet May, and off to Kurdistan. Now we hit the Kurdistan war zone. This is probably where the game takes its strangest left turn. When we're searching for a machete to access a war zone, we find 008 who gives us an exploding pen before passing away, and we go and search for a man named Iqbal and another named Saddam who is now bombing this very village. Now this choice of events is running parallel to this exact scenario in real life. The crows pecking the corpses takes this title into a strangely dark place. Since Bond doesn't usually do darkness, unless you're reading Fleming's actual novels, and usually it's just Bond being dark about himself and psychopathic probably is the best way to describe him. However, we go to find Iqbal, defeat him to find out where Saddam is, find out that he's rather scared rather easily, and then we use one grenade, it's over, and off to Mother Russia. This is much more likely. Now we go via Russia to find Golgov, but instead run into Jaws. So let's get him stuck in some magnets, a few shots later, and gone, and then we learn where Golgov's base actually is. Now here we have the toughest level in the whole game, and one that nearly broke me, so let's find Zhongmei again, and work our way out through the base. We'd have to flick switches to find Golgov and defeat him. So far so easy, but now the nightmare begins. We need to take the mirror we got in Kurdistan and use it to block the lasers. Now this is really imprecise, and strafing is so hard. A section close to the end where you have to go through 2 lasers to the left and 2 lasers to the right straight after is almost impossible to get through without having damage, and if you don't have a medikit, then do what I did and just use the Game Genie code. I'll probably stick it on the screen just now so that you know what it is, because this is the only level where I felt that was even close to being necessary for the game. The rest of this is straightforward, just disarm a missile and save the world. Though I missed the best ending, maybe you can do a bit better than me. This title is a definite must play if you're a Bond fan. Not only does it use the license really well, but it's also a solid adventure title in its own right, and amongst my top 10 Game Boy games now. It has a fair learning curve, with the only bit I needed assistance being that final section, and it's really after the last boss due to the uneven nature of that strafe mechanic. This really nails what Bond was about at the time, a really nice use of weapons, gadgets and nods to the past to kind of mirror the Brosnan relaunch of Bond, trying and managing to catch the cheesiness of a Bond script of that era. If you play this on Super Game Boy, or if via emulation, then use a GBA emulator to get the addition of the GoldenEye style watch shown above. And it's another nice time to where Bond was at the time, and under Nintendo's umbrella. The game strays into territory it really shouldn't, and I'm not really sure how many of the Game Boy's core audience were aware of the Middle Eastern politics of the period, so why this was chosen and got through Nintendo's strict censors, I'm a little bit unsure. Despite actually trying to find out a little bit more about it, and I haven't really read many other reviews that seem to talk about that element of it, I thought it was really strange. Dropping 1D doesn't manage to make that much of a change. I really do urge you to play it though. Around 7 hours, it's a breeze to play. The ability to save states in an emulator, then it's a perfect bite-sized game. And even for the bus at the time, it would have been excellent. The checkpoints are really fair. The save and continue ones it provides in games, and a bit like Metal Gear Solid, sometimes dying and not using the medikit is more beneficial when entering a new area because you'll die, load back in, and you'll have all your items and you'll have your health back, which is obviously a big boon. It was designed to be played in the bus, keep you from being bored during family journeys or outings back in the day, and for that this is as good as an option I could have wished of at the time. I love the Game Boy so much. I still own my original, very battered Game Boy given to me in 1990, and I'll always argue this is one of the greatest systems ever made, with a library of such depth due to its large lifespan, and it shares something in common with the ZX Spectrum, its monochrome graphics and the way developers got so much from the system, one that lasted just like the aforementioned for a long past where it really should have been relevant, but price matters, and of all the handhelds I'm not sure any gave you more for your outlay when it came to that. The Game Boy was almost a guarantee of quality in a general term, and if you play through its library you'll recognise how many games are at least of a decent standard, especially compared to a lot of other handhelds. The Lynx has also got a very good library when it comes to that. Next week I will update you alongside the Nightfire video, which I hope to have out. I will let you know what's happening with the other projects that are coming on, where they are, and I do apologise for my procrastinations, but I haven't been very well. As you could probably tell from my voice even this week. This was supposed to be done last week, but I haven't been in capable shape to be ready for it. I had a lot going on, and what I hope to do is give you all something really well worth watching for, especially with the Fallout video, which I have taken a long time to prepare. Now I'm off to order a cocktail, a vodka martini, stirred not shaken, James, you savage. Have a lovely week ahead, guys. Thanks for watching, take care.